So I grew up in a Christian family. We all started going to church when I was about 8 years old, and we just loved it. And my whole family just had this huge change. It was so incredible to see mum and dad and my sister and myself just change. So I grew up and I went to a Christian school, but I think, as most people do, kind of when you grow up with a faith, you kind of find your faith probably in your sort of early 20s. You know, I think the teen years, sometimes a little bit hectic, and you're trying to figure out who you are and what you really believe. And then I think you live a bit of life. And then for me, people like myself, that's probably when my faith became sort of fully formed, and I realized I really did believe in God and I really do need God. My faith to me now, I think, has changed so much over my life. And that is what I love most about faith. I think when I was younger, I thought faith was an end point of a journey, and you had to believe X, Y, Z, and you got there, and then you got a tick, and then you leveled up to perfect Christian. And it's not that at all. I realize now at 44, faith is just this beautiful non-linear journey, and there's highs and there's lows and there's questions and there's things that you unpack, there's things that you learn, there's things that you maybe deconstruct and relearn. There's verses in the Bible you see one way, then 10 years later with age and time, you see it a completely different way. So I think for me, faith is ever changing, ever evolving, ever growing. And I love that God gives us space for that. Like, he doesn't expect us to be perfect and have it all figured out. And there's so much complexity and beauty in the Bible and in our faith that can be uncovered. And I realized in my later years, it wasn't a scary thing to uncover my faith and pull it apart and examine it and go, actually, what is it I believe? Who actually am I? Who do I want to be? And who actually is Jesus? Rather than the Jesus cartoon, I'm putting him in the box going, this is who he is, this is all God does. Taking all those limits off, I think, has been so freeing for me in this age. And I think I could only do it now at this age because I have the benefit of all my old years to look back and figure it out. I think for me, having a relationship with Jesus and having a faith in God is such an anchor, because life is tough and it's beautiful and it is brutal. And there's a great speaker I love who calls that life is brutal. And I'm like, it so is. But in the midst of that, for me, there's this calm, there's this all-knowing God that loves me. And I mean, for me, I look around the world, and I always have done this through my whole life, looked around and gone, this isn't an accident. Like, even in those times where you're doubting your faith or going, what is it I believe? I look around and I go, what the heck is this? This is life. I'm a conscious, sentient being, and there's dogs and there's trees that give us oxygen, and we're on a planet in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's so extraordinary. I'm like, this isn't some cosmic accident. Now, I know some people believe that, and that's fine. But for me, I'm like, no, this isn't an accident. And if this isn't an accident, I truly believe I'm not an accident as well. And so for me, that whole anchoring of even that thought is enough to get me through tough times. And I've gone through some really rough times in life, like just the worst times. So many weird things, like, you know, infertility, not being able to have a baby, and a divorce, and some really awful health issues with nearly bleeding out on an operating table. And in those moments, I look back and I'm anchored through those moments through knowing that there's a God who loves me, who has the best for me. So even in those times where it's just yuck, I go, hang on, what is my true north? I do believe God loves me. And in those really rocky times, I think that's what gets me through. And some people might go, well, that's just a placebo, or is what it is. But for me, I know my truth, and I know I probably wouldn't have gotten through my worst times without knowing that God was with me and he wasn't done with me, you know. And I think with Easter, we talk about the death of Jesus affording a new life for us all. And I think sometimes in our lives, we go through rough times, awful times, some things have to die and be awful for there to be a new life in that. And I think that's what Jesus represents to me in those times. So many times in my life, things had to die, but it was okay because I knew there was something better coming. And that's the message of God. He's got you back. He loves you. He's got great things for you. It's not always perfect, but you just have to trust the process and the journey. So I would say to people who are like, you know, I want to know a bit more, I kind of believe in a God, maybe I don't believe in a God, I don't know what I think, it's very confusing. There are some things about Christianity I do not like, I hate, but there are some things about the message I love. What do I do with all that? That's okay. I would say totally normal. Good on you. Like, we're all built with something in us going, there's got to be something more, right? So explore that. And the good news is, Your faith journey, or your faith, does not have to look like anybody else's. And if someone says they've got every single answer and you've got to prescribe to every single thing they say, just know that it is a journey, and there are so many different routes on that journey, and that's okay. God is with you in that, and He's big enough to hold all your heavy questions. Why do bad things happen in this world? All those kind of big questions are really tough questions, right? We all wrestle with, even people of faith, we all wrestle with these big questions. I don't have the answers. I've been a Christian for 30 odd years, don't have the answers. Probably have no answers, but I do have faith in something greater than me. And so I would say, if you are wanting to know more, there's some great places you can go. Like, first of all, listen to The Light. Positive, uplifting radio will never let you down. Secondly, I'd say check out something like Alpha, where you can go and talk and just say, this is my question, and people are like, cool, let's chat it out. There's no prescribed answers. There's no checklist of these are the things that you have to believe. Tick, tick, tick. Great, here's your Christian card. Onward, fellow soldiers. It's not that. It's about conversations, struggling, wrestling with things, talking to people, maybe finding a church, getting to know people there, talking to a pastor. There's so much you can do on this journey. So just keep asking questions and don't be scared of that.